Okay, here we go. Let's get the microphone louder. It always defaults to 15%. Okay, back. Let's see if we can get the camera going. Sort of. We changed the resolution, so let's see if I can fix this. Fit to screen. People were complaining about the resolution last time, so I changed it, and now my other screens have not changed. Fit to screen. Why is window capture on? Properties. There we go. I think that'll do. Move me into the corner. Alright, so last time we were coding, we looked at some screens. We made some screens for inputting some hours for a time tracking thing. So if you're new here, we will go through our event model of what we had last time, and okay, let's see. Now I'm more comfortable. Let's see what other screens we have here. We have the event modeling. We have the okay, so I think this will be fine. Had a YouTube review. That was something else. That's when we did the Martin Fowler event sourcing critical talk. If you haven't seen that, that's on the YouTube channel. I should probably link to the YouTube channel on the Twitch stream, but if you haven't seen that, go ahead and see that. Anyway, the chat doesn't really show me, this pop-up chat doesn't show me how many people I have, which is too bad. Users in chat, I have to click on something. Okay, we have quite a few. Awesome. So, yeah, if you have a question about event modeling or event sourcing, especially if you saw that, type it in chat, and I'll try to answer it before we get going on the other stuff. So, yeah. Let me see if I can maybe make myself a little smaller to crop out the sides of me. I don't need to be this, take up this much room. There we go. I can make myself a little bit bigger. There, I'm nicely cropped, so that I'm not in the way. Perfect. And yeah, for the countdown, I just did a very quick thing here in Cursor AI. Oh, sorry about the audio. Let me just double check. Is it too loud? I am not using a microphone at all. Maybe I should. But if it's really bad audio, is it clipping? Maybe I can turn it down a bit. Yeah, tell me how the audio is now. Manuel Ortega, good to see you again. Is it better? So I should keep it at 50%. Maybe it was just too... yeah, okay, awesome. Wonderful. Okay, so let's open up the last project that we were looking at. Oh, by the way, the ChatGPT and all the Cursor AI stuff is pretty good. This little countdown thing was done in a very short time to make a little countdown, but you could do a lot more with like just JavaScript front end and have something really fancy very quickly if you're doing streams. But we're not talking about streaming here. Let's go to the other project. Open up recent stuff. Slice Company. Okay. I was instructing someone earlier on a project on Farkle, the game Farkle, how to do some event modeling on that. We just have to clean some of this up, but that's why in the Slice Company you'll find a Farkle branch, which is just what we were doing there. Yeah, some modules and work entry stuff. I wonder what that is. But anyway, get branch checkout. I think it's get checkout. Checkout master. I think that's where we left off last time, so this should go away if I reload this. So that's gone. Hi Dan Edens, nice to have you. If you have any questions, type them up. I'll try to answer them. All the Farkle stuff is done. So what we had last time is, okay, let's do the other. Where is our event model? There's our event model. By the way, I'll be presenting this at Linux Fest Northwest in late April, I believe. It's kind of it's what I want to do for a lot of open source projects, is to include a design at the top so that you have an event model of what the project's doing, and it's much better than a README. You can kind of walk through what's going on. For example, here when we have our, and sorry, this is in the way. This is my little chat pop out here. I'm trying to keep that on my screen so I can see if you guys are asking any questions. But I think it creates a black rectangle on the output, so I'm going to try and have it somewhere here so it doesn't get in the way. Let me know if it's in the way. Anyway, so yeah, open source projects, as long as they're not too technical, low level, or whatever, should really have a, oh, why is that doing that? Okay, should have an explanation event model at the top of the directory instead of a README, so you can walk through, you know, what the project does. Your workflows should be, let's increase the size of this. This is already too small. File, page setup. Let's see. So custom. Let's double that. 160, and we definitely want it to be much taller. We'll do this as 60. Apply. Okay, so now we have a lot more room. It's nice that in Draw.io you can just change the size of the canvas like that. It's a little different than Miro, which kind of has an infinite scroll thing, which is, I guess, could be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your opinion if you're using Miro. So here we want to start to carve out, you know, what's happening here. So last time we went through some of the UI to do some hours entry in our system. So again, just to review, our system is going to be taking hours or slices as we build our solution. So here we have a basic middle of the workflow screen, which is someone noting down how much time they put in. In this case, they're noting down that they added some work here, and they're entering a slice. And it's a type. It's a state view type. The client is Uber, and it's a potential driver list that they're implementing. They did this work on this date, and they're saving it. So then you have a command that saves that work, attempts to save that work, or requests for that work to be saved, and then it gets stored as an event upon successful saving of that work. So that kind of allows us to go not just from our mock-ups of what the UI will look like, but to then show what data is being collected at that point. And so today I think we'll move on to a different type of slice. So you can see I try to highlight inputs in blue, meaning that that is going to be basically parameters to our command, and we're going to save that in an event if it's successful. So today we'll do the opposite. We'll look at the green, so information coming out of the system, and I guess the other actor here, because we have swim lanes for actors, this is the actual consultant doing the work. And here I should probably have these names a little bit bigger so we can see them. So I have Joe Smith, and I think we should actually say something like contractor. I actually don't like the way that's looking. I'll try and get a rectangle here, and of course let's make that a white background. Again, I prefer the dark themes. It's easier on my eyes. It's probably easier for people to look at this on their phones at night. It's not going to glow. So let's just write that here. Joe Smith, contractor. If I can type, that'd be great. Okay, so now we can actually increase the size of this text so we can see it from further away. And then we'll have myself as the boss. Oops, I actually don't want to put that in here. Let's duplicate that. Actually, I'm not going to use myself. It's something else fictitious. So, as opposed to contractor, we can have Mary as the owner, I guess. For now, owner. I guess there could be admins later, or account holders, or whatever. But anyway, this person is going to see their own screens, and so in this case, we're going to fast forward on the timeline to this part here where we can start to draw a screen for them where they're actually invoicing. So again, we're not worried about any of the data or systems or anything else that these pieces of workflow are going to need. We can stub those out quite easily. So with event sourcing and event modeling, it's quite easy to jump into the middle and the most important parts, the high risk, high value pieces right away. In this case, our billing system, important pieces are actually tracking your time and producing invoices by the client company to get paid. Sorry, not the client company, by the consulting company to get paid. And those are probably the two most important things, so we can always start off with that. And so in this case, the owner here of the consulting company is going to have some interface to show what work was done in the last completed month, and be able to review that and then issue an invoice, and then track that the invoice has been sent to the client. And then we'll go on to other steps after that, but let's start with this here. So on the timeline, at some point people are adding their hours, adding their slices that they worked on, putting them on a specific day that they did that work, and then here when the month is finished, you get a view of all the work that was done in the previous month or your billing period. We can also add a feature where you can bill every week, every 2 weeks, twice a month, once a month, or whatever. And these buckets of time should be something that is just a different folding of all the past events. And so you just have to know which date ranges you're making invoices for. There'll be some details that are just kind of bad to deal with, but we can take pull requests for those to make the system kind of usable by people that have different setups for their clients. And the goal of this project is really just to continue this slowly, but make it a usable project that you could show how event modeling works with an event sourced project implementation. We'll be using something very I'm going to try to keep things vanilla JS in the front end. Probably going to have something, I don't know if we decided yet what the back end is going to be. I think we're doing the app in JavaScript, but we could certainly have different implementations in different languages to show kind of how to get this to be a serious project that you can deploy and use. I also was thinking of making this as a plugin to Nextcloud, so if you install Nextcloud to manage your company, you can install this add-in, which will give you an ability to manage your consultants and your subcontractors through that system, and even your clients, and have everything hosted on Nextcloud. So PDFs of invoices and other artifacts, uploads of code, they can all, So, hey, Ubi, good to see you. Yurdis is here. So I missed your streams, Yurdis, but it's been kind of busy. So good to see you on here. So, okay, now the pressure's on. Yurdis is here. We're gonna have to start doing this invoicing. So over here we have the background color's pink of what we have. Let's make sure that we also get this background color here. Well, you gotta ping me, Yurdis, if when your stream is on, just ping me in a message if I'm around. I'll do that. I have to subscribe to your channel and get alerts when you're live. Then I'll do that. Maybe if you tweet it as well, I should put on some alerts. But yeah, I gotta learn some Elixir at some time, right? So, all right. So for those that don't know, Yurdis, he is a convert to Elixir. And oh, really? Okay. No Elixir anymore. This is so Rust and Go. Okay, well that's really cool. I'd be interested in that. I've actually been looking at more Canvas, JavaScript front end game development. Looks very easy and fun as well. So that's something to consider too. So yeah. Sweet. So Yurdis is doing event sourcing in WASM, which is awesome. So definitely have to look at that. Anyway, it's been kind of nice. I've been doing some private lessons with a guy out of the US who wants to use event modeling and event sourcing as the primary way he's consulting. So we've been going through making some dice games and things like that, just to play around with event modeling and event sourcing and the solution. So it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, we got to get rid of all this. That's not the invoicing look that we want. We certainly want this potential driver list is something that we did. But let's just have an interesting view here, invoicing, and we'll have a last month. You know what, I'm going to Control Z this because I like these tabs. These tabs are kind of nice because in invoicing we want to see for example, last month, and then we have history maybe here. We're not going to do the history right now, but we're going to focus on the last month work, where we can here maybe have a generate invoice button at the bottom, and here in the middle is where I'm going to copy that text and just remove all of these. Now the highlighting is something that I really like in Draw.io. I think you can do it in Miro the same way, but I think you have to hold down Shift or Control so that it only selects what's inside your selection box. I think by default Miro selects anything that the selection box touches, which is kind of annoying sometimes when you're trying to like gouge out these middle things. Great, so awesome. So Dario's here, first time in the chat. Looking forward to learning EM. Okay, well, we're gonna look at it right now. This is the easy part. This is what you already know. So most people know the hardest part of event modeling already. It's wireframing your UIs. So most people are familiar with what that is. So there's actually not that much to learn in event modeling in terms of the amount of work that goes into it. As you can see, I spent a lot of time making sure that the UX is right, so that we have the swim lanes here for the different actors. So we have, whoops, Mary is spelled wrong. There we go. Mary the owner, Joe Smith the contractor, and here the contractor goes through and adds the work that they've done as they're doing that work, finishing it at the end of the day. And here we have our in the other swim lane at the top, we have the swim lane for what the owner does. Here they're looking at the invoicing. They're going to generate an invoice, but this UI is obviously going to have to show some summary, I guess, of what's happening here, because in this invoicing screen it's probably going to be done after the month is done, maybe on the 1st or 2nd of the following month, and the owner's going to be looking at the specifics of what work each person did, and perhaps look at the amount of money that invoice is going to be. They might double check that everything that they promised to the client is actually finished, and kind of have a status update upon sending a bill to make sure that everything that was promised was done. If there's work that's not in here that was expected, you can go back to the contractors, ask them to revise their hours or whatever, and then go back to the screen to confirm again and actually generate the invoice. So this is quite important. So I think we definitely need to have some okay, let's make sure that we have this as a white and just set as default style for now. So we definitely want to have a couple of sections. Now we're going to have multiple, so there's another thing that we're going to have. So we're going to have different areas here. This might be a bigger screen, in fact. And let's do that. Let's give ourselves some more room here. Because we want to also have we're going to be generating a separate invoice for each of our clients. So we may have multiple clients, ideally, and perhaps the generate invoice will actually sit inside. Let's bring this to the top. Bring to front. Okay. So we kind of want this to be inside each section. Let's just say we have 2 clients right now. One that has some complexity with multiple consultants and different types of work. So we'll try to do that. And then we're also going to have a second. Hello there, Tony. Nice to see you. So we'll also have a second one here. And in this case, yeah, let's just shrink that a little bit and then move that up. I know Yordis is way faster than me, so he's probably looking at me going, come on, get on with it, draw these things. No, we don't need that. So there we go. So yeah, we have client 1. So let's type in, let's just call this Uber, because we have that as one of our clients, and the other client that we have may be Amazon. Maybe doing some other work for them. Okay, and we probably want this to be way smaller. Text is looking, we probably want that to be transparent. Where's transparent? Yeah, nothing. Oh, I thought that was nothing. Oh, darn. I got all my history of my colors removed, which is not good. I wanted those colors. Oh well, I'll just use the picker here to grab those again. That's odd. Why is it not? That's very strange that it's not picking up that. Okay. Who cares? Cancel that. Oh, it did work. That's what we want. Apply. Okay, that looks better. And we want these to be aligned there. And we want the size to be smaller like the other ones. Uber. Okay. That's good. So we have the style. We can copy the style. Paste the style here. Alright, that looks a little bit better. So inside here, we're going to have another section which is going to have a summary of each person's work. Now the other thing that happens in invoicing is there's usually projects within a company. So Joe Smith here might have worked on a couple of different areas or components or projects inside. Okay, obviously it's dinner time in Spain, so Manuel, hopefully I'll still be doing a little bit of this when you're back from dinner. So see you in a bit. Alright, so we definitely want sections for each person. Oh, here's a decision that we have to make. Do we want to have what's more important in reviewing these for us? Is it reviewing that each component was done, or is it that each person did all the work that they did? So do we group by individuals first or the projects first? I'm going to err on the side that I want to go to my consultants and contractors first. So I'm going to organize the work by contractor here first. So I'm going to have, first of all, not liking this default style here. For text, I want it to be left and there, and so then I can go to style, set as default. Okay, good. So this will be Joe Smith, and let's just escape that, Control Z that. I want transparency for the text, and I want that as the default. Okay, so hopefully we have that, and maybe I want the text a little smaller. I think 14 is still too large. Just get that down to 10, so we can fit more stuff on here. So this will be Joe Smith. Still large, but that's okay. And let's say that Joe Smith has done a lot of work, and we can have another person that did some little bit of work here. That'll be Jim Bob. Jim Bob did some work here, but Joe Smith had, and I'm going to stop making boxes within boxes here. I think it's getting a little tiresome. I'm going to start to edit the text. So let's just say that they worked for an Uber ride requests project. They had a total of 4 slices. And let's say we're charging $100 a slice. Let's just say we're a really good consulting company. So we're charging $10,000 per slice. So that's $40,000 that Joe did worth of work there. And then we have also on the ride requests project, we did 10 hours. Let's make more space here. Got 10 hours, and our hourly rate is, let's say it's around $500 an hour for contractors. And so therefore, do tabs work? Oh yeah, they do. I should have been using tabs. Oh, that's much better. That's actually pretty cool. I'm glad that this has tabs. Way easier to align stuff in our mockups. And so here, sorry, but yeah, there's no, this is not like a word processing program, so we're not going to be able to align the numbers. But here we have, for those 10 hours of extra work for the ride requests, we have, so time and materials usually in these projects may be for other help that's not functional requirements. So that would be maybe helping them with some of the infrastructure, etc. And so that's why we usually have some time and materials in statements of work. We can continue on with this entire project to keep adding functionality that a consulting company would have, such as generating quotes for upcoming clients, all sorts of things, maybe automatically sending payment instructions, maybe some of the legal stuff such as tax documents or whatever for doing business. Yeah, we could do a whole bunch of things. So let's just make this separated by spaces and to kind of group components that they worked on. So ride requests is one component or project that Joe Smith worked on last month. And of course last month we can probably have the month in here, but anyway, probably know what month it is. Let's just leave that for now. So then we have something else that they worked on. Let's just say it's the ride requests, maybe then ride pricing, so trip price. The trip price module they were working on, and they had that trip price module is some sort of Excel sheet that they use, so they're not doing event sourcing or anything. So we'll just have 25 hours at $500 an hour that they worked there, and of course I'm making my math needlessly hard. So there, doing that, and let's say Jim Bob also worked on a trip pricing module, and Jim Bob also he was working there for maybe 150 hours. I'm really making the math hard on myself. Let's just say he did 100 hours. That'll be easier. At 500, and so there's a bunch of other things that we can do. Of course, if we go backwards through all the data here, we have some things that are assumed. We already assume that we know how much we're charging per hour per slice for this client, so that's part of the client negotiation here. So here, we have $50,000 that we charge for Jim Bob's work, and of course we need to total that. So we need a few things on here, such as taxes. Let's give ourselves a little more room. Again, I'll adjust the swim lanes. I know we're moving down into the other swim lane. So there. I want to be done with this example data for the invoice soon, so we can look at the other part of the event model to see where all this data comes from. But here we can have our summary. So I don't know why I duplicated that. It's actually kind of a dumb idea. Let's just get another brand new box here. Stretch that out, and here we have the summary. Why is that default not taking place? Still centering stuff. We want it to the left, we want it top aligned. And our text color is transparent. Font color, but the background looks okay. I want to set that as our default style. Set as default style. So here we have subtotal, and maybe just actually move it over. Our subtotal will be what is that? 45. Oh, good God. 45,000 plus 50,000, so 95,000 plus this 12. So we have 107. Is this right? Something like that. I think that's right. Anyway, and then we have tax. And here we have, well, I'll just put the name of the tax, GST in Canada. Hello, newcomers to the chat. So our GST will be 5% of that. Let me just type that in. Might as well have it. Times 5. 5375. Good, more complicated math. 75. So that is our tax. And so then we have our total. There's other things such as partial payments that the client can make, so you can have carryover balances if you're forgiving to your clients. And you could have the system track all that if you want. So now our total is going to be 112,875. Right, so that sort of looks good. Now if we generate the invoice from here, we haven't done the Amazon part yet. Can make up data there as we need. I'm just going to save this because we're not auto-saving. Where's my autosave? Autosave is on, but it doesn't work for the Draw.io plugin. Interesting. Okay, let's zoom out to see our formatting. It's actually still okay. It's in this swim lane that's here. Perfect. We might want to actually move that over to a little bit further to the right. In event modeling, I want to give some indication of the workflow that I'm working on. So let's make sure that that's done. Hold down Shift or Control. My goodness. Okay. There we go. And this arrow should be, I like the blue color, and I want this to be kind of outlining sections of. 1 second here. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Excalidraw, yes. Thank you very much for that. I do like Excalidraw, but I'm trying this out for now. I think Vaughn uses Excalidraw in all his diagramming. I may try to see what that is, how that plays out here. Whether Excalidraw is worth it for open source projects or not. Let's see. So the workflow here that we want to identify is, these are kind of labels on the workflow. When you zoom out, you kind of want to see what is happening at each section here. So we have we don't really have text boxes in here. So Scratchpad. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so I think I just have to use a text rectangle here for for giving a name to this thing. So I usually label these things up here. Let's call this the track hours, tracking hours, and I want to make sure that that text is much larger, because we want to see that from far away, and I do want to have this text the same color as the arrow, which is interesting that it doesn't have that. So let's cancel. Why am I not seeing that color here? Style. Let's just copy that color. I want it to be the same color. And let's take that text, color, okay. Alright, let's see. Tracking hours. Yeah, we want that there. We want the fill to be nothing. So transparent. apply. That looks like the wrong color. It looks a little darker than the other part. Did I take the wrong one? Oh yeah, it's this one I was supposed to take. Okay. Copy that one, cancel, go back to this one, go to text, choose the color, apply. Okay, so tracking hours, I probably want this bold so we can read it from further away. Give it some more space and probably crank up that size to be a lot bigger. So this is where you kind of, if you're familiar with Jira and things like that, your epics are kind of named up here in the event model. So at the top, when I'm zoomed out, I can see that in this part I am specifying how tracking of hours happens, and likewise I can highlight that and duplicate this, move this over to this second part here, and of course we're going to label this as invoicing. So I'm leaving a little bit of room to the left here. Actually, I just should move it over and move this other guy over, because we're going to have some setup events and some setup views here. So in fact, I'm going to move all of this over a little bit. It's all connected on the timeline in terms of where the information comes from. It's trying to help me align it here, sort of. Nah, whatever, I can align it later. So tracking hours starts here, and obviously we're going to have some views that feed this. So one of the views that we might have is the last month view. As we get events happening, we may have that, and that might not be the best. That might not be the best name for that view, because what happens when time flips, we kind of want to have a monthly summary view or by month organization here. That's one of our views. Any tools you recommend to me to create the O-Note that we all hoped for? O-Note is still happening. It's actually being redone as another project by Bobby, so there will be more projects happening. There's also Proof, which is the PHP framework, but now it's adding, I believe, Node to the code generation part, but it has a canvas that's being changed to be event modeling, have an event modeling view. So that's really good. Of course, Arian is doing his own. Which one? Proof? Okay, let me show you where that is. I don't know if I can share that with you here. We have that here. That's odd. Why is that on here? Fit to screen transform. Fit to screen. Okay, and I think if I go to my browser here. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be at Como Camp, just so you know. Como Camp is in Vienna, so I'll be there doing all the things about event modeling there for people to participate in. But Proof is so that's it here, but there's the actual So this is going through a few changes with Alexander is basically changing this event storming part to be something that you do with event modeling. Yeah. So is it worth waiting for? Oh no, last time extremely expensive, pay for everything. Well, there'll be lots of open source ones as well. I mean, I'm going to have at some point this year start an open source project for doing that on eventmodeling.org, which is entirely client side. So it'll be, whatever gets published will be available by just browsing to eventmodeling.org for some of this stuff. Again, I really want to have the vanilla.js, listen to some keystrokes to add in slices easily, collapse them easily. It's not rocket science. So I think the value from these other tools will be the AI parts, honestly, where you're feeding in conversations from meetings and it'll come up with an event model for you. I'm not too worried about the standard for the event model. There's also I've started a foundation, event modeling foundation, where people that are actively practicing this, like Yurdis, will basically talk about, we'll be making some decisions about those types of things. I'm not too worried about a standard notation yet. I don't want it to go the way that UML went. So right now it's slices. Slices contain either information coming in or coming out of the system to the user or automation. Now, this has been around for a long time. So Alexander started this company at about the same time that I started mine, and he started to do a lot more of this, trying to automate some code generation for event sourcing. Event sourcing has a very opinionated way of working with very few patterns, so it's a lot easier to get let me know if the mic is working well. It seems like I'm clipping here quite a bit. So I'm gonna just lower my volume. Hopefully that fixes it. Is that better? Okay, excellent. So anyway, so it started in PHP and event sourcing. So I really don't care about the languages. He's already done another stack in Node.js, which is kind of what we're doing. So we're gonna have a good chat about that in May in June when we're there. So I don't know if that was communicated, but also let me show you. If you follow me on LinkedIn, there is an open spaces and a workshop that I'll be doing there at the beginning of June, near the beginning of June. I don't know, opinionated or informed. I guess. I mean, I agree that it is a very informed way of looking at information systems, that it's state transitions or state views and everything else is details. So, of course. But again, when you're talking to people fresh to it, they're still wondering if this is another pattern and that's it, right? So, let me see. I wanted to show you one more thing before we go back to our tasks. Here, let's go look at that. So the foundation is on Discord. We're talking about that there. So I think Yurdis, you're probably an admin there anyway, so you can hop into that channel. Let's see here. Wake up. There's an announcement on LinkedIn. There it is. See if I can stretch this out a bit. So that's an announcement by Alexander about that trip of mine. Shoot, I'm getting things snapping to the edges of the... So that's it there. So if you look up Alexander on LinkedIn, he has this announcement, and I'll be creating a little page for registration and all that for the workshop. So the workshop will be on a Friday, and then Saturday will be an all day open spaces to do with event modeling. So I'm hoping a lot of people from different parts of Europe at least come by on that Saturday to spend the day in some open spaces about all of that. Hopefully we'll have some fishbowl discussions near the end, and maybe at the beginning have some general introductions and all that. So it should be oh, awesome. So we already have some people that are going to be there, so that's wonderful. But yeah, Proof is what Alexander is working on. The site that I showed you isn't updated yet, so if you look at his announcements about this on LinkedIn, you'll see that there is yeah. But anyway, if we want to work on some open source versions that are free for event modeling, we can do that as well. I do want to have a pet project like the one we're working on, but also maybe some things that aren't too opinionated in tech. So one of the problems that I found with all the tooling is that there's a lot of people really love their tools, and so we've had a lot of .NET stuff from Rafael. We've had Yurtis with Elixir. We've had Bobby with Clojure. And these are really good things. I'm not knocking any of these languages. So the problem is that they're not a majority language, which really excludes a lot of people from contributing. It's one of the hardest decisions I had to make, was to drop some of the favorite or more familiar things that I was familiar with, in order to just say, well, we're going to be using Node.js because that's what the majority of people know. So yeah, not great to have to make those decisions like that, but then again, you want to have you want to be inclusive. So I think, unfortunately, we'll be still doing a lot of JavaScript. We're going to be doing a lot of in the browser functionality, because it just removes a lot of obstacles. There's nothing to install when you're running something in the Chrome browser. You're pretty much guaranteed that most of the world will be able to see and run that. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to have implementations in Rust and Zig and Go, and really nerd out on those technologies, and maybe there's a spot where we can do that in certain areas, just to show the approach with better languages. But I certainly think that it's going to have a problem with adoption by the everyday person. So, and again, if you're modeling things correctly, and if you have good system design, the choice of language stops mattering as much. You might start to look at rewriting pieces where performance is going to be an issue. So anyway, let's see what happens. All right, let's see. All right, let's get back to some of the. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm back. Let's go back to the. Let's go back to our example and finish setting up our invoicing on the event model, so that we can then do some implementation of what we want there. So let's switch back to that view. If I can find my OBS, there it is. There we go. Okay, so we have tracking hours. I think this should be enough, but so the other thing that I do again is I take these, and because this is information coming out of the system, I like to highlight them in green. And where do we have green on here? We had it here. So let's take a look at that style and copy that. Cancel that and float over back to here. And I want to fill all of these with green to show that, oops, okay, so that is actually coming out of our system. Again, there'll be an Amazon, so we have invoice information, because it's not necessary that remember, creating an invoice is kind of taking a snapshot of what you agreed to. So it doesn't matter if someone updates their hours the next month. The invoice has already been created and sent. You have to have compensating actions for this. So we have to really think about what that view is in our system, right? So we will definitely have like one of these boxes here, which will copy and paste that here, and this is going to be invoices. So zoom in so we can read it. Invoice information. Let's say source info for invoicing. And it should really exclude things we've invoiced already, I think, because as I said, when something's already been invoiced for, then you kind of don't want to have that in here. In other words, an event saying invoice submitted or invoice created, or at least invoice paid or invoice sent or something like that, should remove that information that was on that invoice from this view, so that we have a real easy kind of select star to get the information for here, right? So, you know, over here we should probably have, we have the last month, but you could say that sometimes invoicing is late, or a client might say, we're still waiting for funds, can you wait a little bit more, give us 20 days, and you may have a situation where you're owed an invoice for more than a month ago. So the fact that we have last month, we might have, you know, unpaid invoices, right, instead. So we might have unpaid instead. I mean, that might work better. And then in here we could have another box around these, all of these, to basically say, maybe I'll just draw it in a different way, where let me just get some more space here. And in here we may have, again, I hope this is a better example than most trivial examples, because it's something that I would use, right, and to run my company. So I'm not making stuff up about fictitious bookstores or things like that. And maybe we have descending or ascending. Maybe we probably want the oldest invoices coming up at the top, right? So make sure that they're. So if we have perhaps a small invoice we didn't bother creating. Let's just say maybe we had. What's a good example here? Yeah, maybe they had another one from before. So let's duplicate this one. Let's move it up here. Let's just move it out of the way for now. I'm just trying to make sense if we have more than a month, because unpaid can definitely move more than 1 month before if someone's not paying. So let's move these down here. Let's say we've had some, maybe we had some logistics and setup issues with the vendor and all that kind of stuff. So here we could say that this is our invoice for Uber, but it is for 2023 December. And here we have a potential other invoice. For 2024-01, so that's January, right? So we can definitely have this kind of situation that this could show. But we could have another special button that appears when this situation happens. Can merge with previous. Oops, merge. Right? So we could have that. So this shows, it's complicating things a little bit, but let's just show the possibilities that we may actually want to have this functionality. And then Amazon here, I'm not going to bother making an example detail for the invoice because we're not going to use that one. Could have that. And so hopefully that makes sense. So this is kind of a nice view. And now, when we have that information coming from here, we could say that this actually comes from here. And I don't like that style of arrow. I want these nice bendy ones. Is that a good one? It kind of looks gross. The square ones like this. That looks better. It's weird that it has an opinion on how they get drawn in such a limited way. I think Miro does a better job. There, that might be better, I guess. Okay, so we do that. I want that as a default style. It's gray, so it's visible. Actually, it's white, so it's not visible over the white. So I actually want to change this style to be not white. I want it grayish, I guess. That's still viewable here and is viewable here. And I want that style to be the default. Good. So now I can do more of these to show that it's linking that. And let's zoom out a bit so you can see that. And then link to that. I also want it to link to these pieces. Or I could just not bother and just say that that feeds that information. The reason you would do that, what I'm doing right now, is if you have multiple different read models or state views showing that. But in this case, we can just say that any green information on this screen comes from this read model. So we can just link it to this guy, which will be that entire page. Okay. In other words, in the event model, this is the info that gets put on here, and here we can be, kind of think about the model in terms of some sort of a JavaScript object that would, or JSON format. So, we might have a collection of things. Let's use that, braces, and in here we might have a billing period for a client. So we might have, well, first we might have how many different clients are uninvoiced. So we'll have Uber, and then we'll have Amazon, and then of course in each one we can have a collection of actual periods here of what's being done. So we would have that information. I'm just going to copy paste it here from Joe Smith. So that would be Joe Smith, and they would have this info here. I guess I could have just done that. In fact, it's a smaller. Well, you get the idea. Just make that bigger so it shows, and then etc. So in other words, we have to kind of make this view so that this screen can show it, and it's just simple data, but it's important to show that this comes from, this is how you link the two pieces here, because it's obviously this invoicing info is related to this part here when someone actually submits some work, right? So you would want to know that this is adding to the count of the slices that we're charging for here. So again, we can just link that like this. And again, I'm not happy with the choice of which way these are going, so we'll do that. That's better. So now we can see that we've linked our two. This is where the coupling comes in, and this is where you have the nice handshake agreements between developers. So if I'm working on the tracking of hours, I really want to know the shape of the data that I'm going to be working with here. And as this data is getting collected, I know that I'll be making adjustments to my view of how to, count up the amount of slices that I have here, for example. Right, that's quite important to me, that this working on this ride requests count actually came from one of these submissions last month, right? And it's not adding up here. This is potential driver list, and one thing that we can say already, we're not information complete, because guess what happened here? We don't have something that we assumed we would have in our invoicing part, which is the fact that people can work on different components or projects inside that. So we have the name of that slice, and we have the type, but we don't have a place for the project, right? So, and in fact, the system that I already have implemented for us internally at Adaptec, we have projects. We have to support projects. So we're going to have to add that here. Really easy to do. We can copy that, and I'll paste that. I can move it over here. Yikes. Let's move the other ones down a little bit more. That's better. And maybe we can have project. So inside the projects, inside the different clients, we have projects that they have going on. Again, we can move these down a bit and paste that in again. Move it over. Align it there. That's only selecting one. Let's move this up a bit. Let's move this above. To front. Okay, good. And same thing here. That to be down here. That's not. I hate that it pastes back there. I should paste where my cursor is, but whatever. And I'm not renaming these, so that's project. Project. And since I've changed the name, I'll just copy this. I'll move these down. And here. So this is information completeness, right? We are now information complete because we have a place for a person to add what project they were working on. So I believe here we were, what was it? Ride requests. Okay. So we will put in ride requests. Ride requests. And we can take the fill from here. Copy that. And that's how we get that in here. And so here we have to also, so many typos. Client Uber here project ride requests. So now we know where that came from. It was actually just added by the consultant themselves. Perfect. Okay. So there we have that being responsible for one of these entries here. Like it's part of the total count. And we know where that came from here. So we now have a little bit better understanding of what has to happen when we implement the system. I'm gonna probably need to have more room for these larger screens, so I can move this stuff down a bit. That should give us more room. Right, but looking across the top here, we know that we're tracking hours in this part. Here we're invoicing. Oops, I should rename that. Invoicing. And now we sort of get a good idea of what's happening with everything. Of course, now we need to do the next part here, which is what happens when we click some of these things, such as generate an invoice. Right, maybe we'll generate the previous invoice here first. Right, we can always, I think it'll allow us to create another shape if we float over this. This is what Draw.io does. See, it does do this, which is kind of nice. Good. So generate invoice. You can move it over. So the next part here is grabbing all that information and submitting it to the other side. So at this point, we'll probably leave it off and just do the implementation next time. I'm gonna save this and push this up. Just see a little bit more here. Work entry, HTML. I don't think I changed anything there. I'm gonna push this up anyway, just since we're doing some event modeling here. So git add event model draw.io, git commit, added invoicing screen, and we can push. Okay, so if you want to look at that event model, it's up on GitHub now. You can just open that up. Again, I'm using just a simple Draw.io plugin for VS Code in here. I am using some AI stuff, so this is a fork of VS Code called Cursor AI, which allows you to do fun stuff, such as do command line AI, like filter branch and change all my emails to adam@abc.com in all branches. If I do that, it should give me something that's really hard to remember, the syntax for filter branch. But anyway, this is one of the reasons I use Cursor AI, because of just a lot of the good things. Like if you know how to use AI, I guess if you're experienced, you're using it for small tasks. You're not closing really large knowledge gaps. You're using it to start to experiment with some stuff, or you're using it to get rid of boring tasks like dealing with HTML, braces, and angle brackets. This stuff's really not great to implement by hand. So adding AI in here is quite good. So for example, adding a label in here, or let's just add one more thing here, because we did change some of the implementation here for adding the project. So you can say add project. In fact, I think we can just add project input. It should be able to do that for us. So yeah, we did that. So we can also add that here. Let's get rid of that prompt here. But add, and that is our work entry. Added the project tracking, the project specifications. So you can see that as well. And again, there is a Farkle game. That's another branch in this repo that you can look at. Kind of a simple, more fun project than time tracking. It's the Farkle game. There's free online versions of that dice game, but it's an interesting experiment in event sourcing and event modeling. Hopefully you see how you tie together different workflows from different people to be tied by the common event stream, and you can start to put two and two together just to see how simple event sourced systems are, and how this following the information stream, it really makes it easy to guide your development. So any questions? Anything else you want me to talk about while you're here? We got quite a few users still listening, so if you don't have any questions, I'll make this a little short one here. How do you handle generated values like a session ID? Oh, a session ID for a login? I'm not sure if that's what you're asking for, but if it's something that's not that interesting, like authentication, I wouldn't bother modeling that, because all systems track that kind of thing. So it depends really if your business is doing something that's different than most other systems, where I would model that. I want to focus on what makes this system unique from others and all of that. But it's a fun example to do if you want. It's a little bit lower level than you usually deal with for business logic. So yeah, we try to keep the infrastructure out of the model, because we want these artifacts to be high value, and we would always start with what are the state transitions and the business rules that are important here. Yes, authentication and all of that and security stuff is important, but the focus here isn't getting the data correct. So, if you're dealing with making sure that the session is tracking who's got access to what and what pages, then yeah, you would probably not model that here. It would be implicit. In some cases, there are attached special features, such as roles, the rules of how roles are managed, and special rules for those. In that case, we do model them, because they impact the workflows as to who can and cannot see certain information or screens at a certain time. So we model those. So I don't think I would do the session level stuff. Some of the artifacts, such as your rights, may be in your token, but I think those are better as lookups. So we've done a lot of insurance companies where you have a whole bunch of different layers of access, if you will, and roles, where we want that to be explicitly managed. So yeah, we could discuss that again next time if you like. But definitely keep your infrastructure from complicating this. In this case, we're tracking that we're writing down hours that we did. We notice where the information gets stored and how, and then we move over to where that information is projected for another user, so that they can do the billing to the clients at the other end. And then when payment is done, we'll also make some other screens and parts of the workflows for those things. So invoicing is one. Maybe another one that we look at is maybe I'll copy this, and we might look at a workflow for paying contractors, right? And if we can kind of grab what invoices they give to us, or in our case, in this system, we'll also provide the functionality for them to invoice us, so that we have it done in a predictable way. We're going to the same source of truth for billing, both for the contractors and for our company as well. So we'll copy that, put that somewhere here, and then move it over. Oh, I just copied the arrow. Oh well. Oh, I moved the arrow. Let's put this here, and yeah, in this case we can say paying subcontractors. So we might have some screens there. If you have ideas of how you want to implement that, by all means let me know, and we can do that for next time. I think though my next session will be the implementation of this, and maybe before that we're probably going to do another video review of more popular event sourcing talks that have been presenting event sourcing the wrong way as far as I'm concerned, and we can do sort of a critical view of that. I'll try to schedule that a little bit better so you can plan on attending and having questions and kind of view that video with me, and maybe maybe put some opposing viewpoints that I can address there as well about it. But for now, you can see how simple event sourcing can be and should be. So any other questions that we might have? I've been at this for about an hour and a half, so yes, talks Oscar Dudich on YouTube. Thank you so much. Yeah, we can look at that. I've looked at some of his pretty good, so it's going to be a lot of head nodding about yes, that's right. He's presenting, closing the books, or snapshots. So he got the memo. His talking about the right stuff. I think he's too closely tied to, again, selling something like Martin or promoting it because he's the maintainer for it. Udi's event sourcing talk is something that has to be looked at, I think. He had that intro at Domain Driven Design Europe, which I think was not painting event sourcing correctly. Again, a lot of that comes from where people are, what their biases are, what they're promoting. Obviously, I'm promoting event modeling. I think it works really well and all that. And these other people have things they're promoting as well, such as Udi's promoting his company and Service Bus. He really wants to sell that middleware. So I'm okay with that as long as it doesn't take away from the true meaning of something like event sourcing. And I think that might have been a problem in his talk. So I want to discuss that and kind of show where I think the deviation started in the presentation, where the focus went in the wrong direction, and what should have been talked about instead. And then maybe we'll look at some things like all the clean code stuff, and maybe some of the Uncle Bob lectures that are taken as gospel, and look at it from a different perspective. I'm just happy that more and more people are seeing that event sourcing is the right default to start with instead of CRUD and all that. So so aggregate being dead. So that's a very interesting topic for a lot of people, especially for people that have been looking at event sourcing for a long time and domain-driven design for a long time. It's really this transactional boundary concept is quite heavily ingrained in their minds, and it still clings on and brings in a little bit too heavy the idea of an identifier being the ultimate transactional boundary. And I think that boundary is a lot looser than people think they can get away with. I think we can do a much better representation of the reality of managing information, where identity of an entity is not as limiting as it is in traditional approaches. But yeah, aggregate is a good topic. I try to disagree with the aggregate being dead topic. Yeah, so I mean it's helpful. I mean, we use in a lot of our implementations we have aggregates because we know that if we pass that code off to our client and they look at it and they hire someone that knows event sourcing or DDD, they'll be at home in the code base. But when you really want to work in a more unlimited way, you start to really embrace the functional paradigm, and you look at what data relates, what sets of what properties bind different sets of data that were put in the system at the same time, i.e. those are the transactional boundaries. It's just what data got put in together. And sometimes these things overlap. That's why there's different models for different purposes. And it's interesting how event sourcing sort of said, yes, that's true for just read models, but not for the event side. The right side has to have these really strong guarantees. It's like, no, the strongest guarantee you have is that you wrote down what happened at the time. We try to force way too much design into the events themselves. The events themselves shouldn't be subject to a lot of design. They are the argument settler. Like they settle arguments about different projections, and those very projections can be the ones that you use to make decisions whether you're going to issue another command or whether another command passes or something. So anyway, should probably do a lot of diagramming for that, maybe some event models showing those associations. And obviously I'm guilty of that myself, trying to make event modeling, make event sourcing and domain-driven design people happy, having sub-streams that are designed for aggregates. And so, what happens when you let go of that approach? I think you could dynamically say, organize this swim lane, but use this other property as something to organize them into sub-swim lanes instead of the aggregate ID, right? I might want to see, another property like a phone number that would more easily, like a home phone, to more easily tie all the user actions from the same household that share the same home phone number. Maybe home phone number is an outdated example, but anyway, something like that is not an ID. We certainly have correlation IDs and other things that tie workflows together, but I think that there's another level of organization here that can be explored for indexing information, so it's associated together for useful purposes, and not just looking at the good old GUID or UUID for aggregates. I think there's a missed opportunity for that, and I think everyone that's been working on event sourcing databases and infrastructure and platform, they've certainly started to explore that. I know Matt Bishop has been looking at the indexing part of an event store being the interesting thing that's worth exploring and developing beyond what we did for aggregates. So I don't think I actually committed that last one. I think this event model.draw.io doesn't automatically save, so I'm going to do another git add here so you guys have it. I think last time the same thing happened. Someone was saying, hey, you pushed stuff up but it's empty. So let me updated EM. Alright, so it should be on GitHub for you now. That would be this latest thing. Oh, probably the paying subcontractors workflow area was what I added. But anyway, it's there. You can take a look at this if you like. Okay, so any other questions from anyone? Let's see how many people are left in chat. Most people probably have gone, at least in Europe, have gone to sleep or dinner. No, we still have a few. So, but if there's no more questions, then I'll see you next time. Probably going to do a review, and then we're going to continue on with the implementation of this for the one following that. So see you soon. I'll try to again make some sort of a schedule for these, but it's been quite busy for me, so we'll do that. Anyway, see you next time. I hope you had fun, and I'll put this up on YouTube for the people that have issues with Twitch. I know some people do. I will also try and get a YouTube stream going. I just need a repeater set up somewhere, so I'll try and take care of that. Oh, thanks for the first-time chatters here. Yeah, I will put this up on YouTube. I'm not going to take this recording down from Twitch, so you can watch the beginning of the talk as well, and I hope to see you all next time. Until then, take care.